Hello everybody, take a look at this. So you got a nice little barbed wire fence on the corner here next to another wall with another enclosed place with a barbed wire fence. You've got your typical New York City cleanliness, and this is what you get. So this is interesting. This actually is not like nearly, I don't understand this. This is Prospect Heights. You're right next to Park Slope. It makes, and Gowanus, it really doesn't make any sense to me why there's a bunch of barbed wire there. It really does make the neighborhood seem a lot worse than it actually is. This is not a bad area of Brooklyn by any means. I guess, you know, at least as good as you get in Brooklyn. So let's see if we can get a look on the inside. I would climb that to get a better view, but I like my skin more than all of you, no offense. Let's see, I'm just gonna do this. All right, so that's what you get on the inside here, pretty much that. Now, honestly, I find the empty spaces much more interesting than the actual buildings, because overpriced buildings and like crappy houses is one thing, but the empty space is, to me, I guess the ultimate judgment of what people think something is worth. Because what you're saying is, you're not even like trying to say this is a nicer place than it is. You're literally saying that nothing here is worth a certain amount. How much do you think this is, if you had to take any guess? Because if you were to guess over 7 million, you would be 100% correct. And yeah, like one of the things that I find interesting when it comes to stuff like this is the talk of gentrification and the aggravation that a lot of people have when it comes to gentrification. So I understand it. You know, I understand the idea of it being aggravating when, you know, you're in a neighborhood where most of the jobs are going to pay you probably $2,000 a month. You can barely afford your $1,500 a month apartment, and now they start building things where all the apartments are $4,000, $7,000, $9,000, you know, and it mostly filled by people that didn't come from your neighborhood. Probably kind of pisses you off. At the same time, if you're buying, like, you got to think about it. Like, if this portion of space is $7.9 million, what are you going to build here? You're probably not going to build nicely affordable housing, because that just is impossible. So it's probably just going to stay empty for a very, very long time, which is what happens with a lot of these lot spaces here. And you know, I've heard people in the comments talk about rent control and stuff like that, and like, yeah, I get it. I get that if you artificially decrease the cost of housing, it's going to cause people. There's the theory that it causes people to hold on to it, which then creates housing shortages, which then raises the rents for everybody. It's like, I have a friend who's had the same apartment now for like 12 years around 56th and Broadway. He pays $1,100. Let me get that straight. Like an actual nice apartment, $1,100 on 56th and Broadway. It's like, you know, one of the most expensive areas of New York City, and he doesn't actually live there anymore. He's moved to Baltimore 2 years ago because he gets along with his girlfriend really well. His relationship's going well. He may get married. He don't want to give up that apartment just in case he comes back to the city because it's so affordable, you know. And he literally doesn't live there. He's just keeping it as a you know, kind of maybe sort of thing. And then there's the other side of the theory here, which is with housing shortages and property shortages. You know, if there were more properties, then people would move away from these buildings who are affluent into the nicer buildings, and then these buildings would come cheap again. Yet, I remember looking this up a while back. I think in Manhattan alone, you had something like 250,000 vacant luxury apartments. Now, to be fair, a lot of those are under renovation. A lot of those are about to be listed. A lot of those are for people that live in the city, let's say 6 or 8 months out of the year, but not the other 4 months, and you can't just, you know, bust into them and just someone else's property just because they're out of the city at the moment. But even when you take away all those, it's still like over 100,000, 150,000 vacant luxury apartments throughout the city. So it's not even like this entire city is really in many ways a completely mismanaged mess. And every time that there is a problem, which is a problem, you should listen to people, listen to their problems, you know, and really hear them out with it. They come up with a solution that like kind of sort of fixes it in some way, but then causes another one, and then and if you get rid of all of the fixes that kind of don't really seem to work, then you wind up in the short term having everything be even way worse than it was in your wildest nightmare. And like, I don't really know what the fix to it is. At the same time, a part of me is just kind of laughing at the fact that this is $7.9 million. And look, again, not a bad section. Like, I don't know why the hell they got all this barbed wire here. This is kind of ridiculous. Like, I really don't get the barbed wire. Like, it's not a bad part of Brooklyn, and this is literally empty. But yeah, I'm really starting to find these more interesting than the actual properties. Like, remember that place that we saw around Gates where there was an actual, like, it wasn't even a lot, it was like an alleyway, and it was over $1 million. Like, you couldn't even fit a house there if you tried. Stuff is crazy. Absolutely, utterly crazy. What do you think? It's a good deal? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm thinking of getting my realtor's license so that I could start pimping these spaces. Hey, you know what? I may be able to get you in on the ground floor at maybe only 7.1 million. What do you say? Anyway, see you all later.